Welcome to the Fantasy Football Malpractice Show with Dr. Donkey and myself, the booth. DT, how are you doing over there?
Good, man. I thought I was supposed to be running the show. You just jumped right in there.
I just couldn't take the awkward silence. You can go from here on out.
Yeah, this is the debut episode of Fantasy Football Malpractice with Dr. Donkey and the Booth. Brought to you by Razzball. This is the Razzball YouTube channel. This will be featured on Razzball. We'll figure out, Brieda asked about this show, and I told him that I envisioned it kind of like a scene from Zoolander where they're trying to figure out how to get the files out of the computer. I think that's what it's going to be like with us. Yeah, trying to figure out how to get this up onto YouTube. But, I think we're recording right now, so that's good.
I see the red light.
What's good down in Atlanta, man?
The weather's great. We're enjoying some nice 75 degrees and sunny days. I can't complain about that. I really look forward to that. Being a Florida boy from the get-go, I really actually look forward to summer. Hate the winter, can't stand it. So I'm ready to get outside and just have pit stains immediately.
Yeah, I'm up here in the Chicago area, as you can tell by my sweet Walter Payton jersey and Bears sombrero. That's an authentic sombrero from Mexico. So yeah, I'm ready for summer here too, and I'm sporting, in honor of the Last Dance, my Bulls championship hat. I got my Urlacher, my signed Urlacher picture here. And you know what? I wanted to give you the story here. I didn't even tell you when we were off here, but I met Brian Urlacher back. It was probably like 10 years ago now. I was doing a party delivery job, and he ordered. We set up those moon bounce things, and we had like a big.
Oh, right, gotcha.
We also had a blow up obstacle course, and I don't know how the guy that I worked for got in touch. Urlacher got in touch with him. I'm up here on the North Shore of Chicago, a real rich area. So somehow Urlacher ended up ordering our obstacle course. So we went.
That's incredible.
We blew it up for Urlacher. Him and his brother did a race through it. We had a beer with him.
Oh man!
Actually, he didn't sign it for us, but he had like a bunch of them already signed, and he gave us one. So
yeah,
he didn't even bother signing. He already had it signed. So yeah, that was my Brian Urlacher story. Just wanted to share it.
Wait, did he get this? We're just gonna take a sidetrack. I gotta find out more. He got this blow up obstacle course just for him and his brother, or did he have kids? Was it a party situation? I mean,
no, it was 4th of July weekend. So I think he was having a party. He probably had, I don't know, like a 5-acre piece of land. It was kind of almost like a farm, but not in a rural area really. And he had this big barn, and he showed us, actually, he just had this massive pile of fireworks. And it turns out I only lived probably 5 minutes from him. So on 4th of July, like, I could see the fireworks going off. He just had this massive.
I wish you would have just like walked up, with a case of beer and been like, "What's up? Let's party." Remember me I was the one, blowing up your thing.
Yeah, he probably would have let me in. He was a really cool dude. He really was.
That's great.
I don't know if you saw this about his brother. It may have only been a story here in the Chicago area, but it was probably a month ago. I saw his brother got arrested for some sort of gambling ring that he was running.
So, well, I can't fault him for that.
Yeah, I mean, he's just running a sports book, I think.
I'm all for it. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my story.
That's a great story.
So that was our 2-minute intro. You had this lined up for 2 minutes. We should get into what this show is going to be on the debut episode. Booth has a great vision for the show. I'm really just along for the ride. But fantasy football malpractice, man. What are you thinking for the show, Booth?
Yeah, I just think that all of us, even those of us who are very successful and good at fantasy football, we're still guessing. We're all guessing. I think it's important to realize that's what we're really doing for the most part. And I feel like I play the game understanding that even if I'm hitting all cylinders, I'm probably right 30, 40% of the time. Especially when you're talking about prospects and things like that, if you're talking about rookies and whatever. So we're all just malpracticing. I mean, none of us are doing a great job. We're just hoping to be wrong a little bit less than the next guy. So I think it's just a funny thing to say, and also, just to kind of realize sometimes I think it's a benefit to play the game knowing that you're probably going to be wrong, and therefore playing some of those odds instead of having tunnel vision and thinking that you're right and you've just like nailed some particular strategy or thought process that nobody else has or something like that.
No, that's a great way to put it. That's well articulated, something that I've talked about for years actually on our show, because Bidon and I on the Razzball Fantasy Football podcast, and we're on the Razzball Fantasy Baseball podcast as well. We've been doing it for years, and he has always been a bit on the stubborn side. I think he would agree with that, and I've always been much more gray area. I don't really know, and that's always kind of been my stance. I don't really know anything for sure. I always think it's very comical, since we've gotten into the Reddit sphere. People are just so opinionated over there, and you look back at the end of the season and look at some of the takes that you had and some of the things that people felt so strongly about, and just totally wrong, so I don't get stuck in my viewpoint. I'm very easily swayed from my viewpoints, and I think that can be interpreted as wishy-washy and flip-floppy and not having any strong stances. But I think that there's a difference between that and being flexible. It is a fine line. The point is to keep your eye on the goal and never never from that end goal, but be open to different ways to get there. And I mean, we're going to be wrong most of the time, but if you acknowledge that you're wrong quick, you can jump onto some of those breakout guys a lot quicker. And it becomes very difficult to, when you're so sure of something, the ego kind of jumps in and it makes it hard to like drop a guy that you should have dropped. It's like, I love this guy. He's going to be good. I know I'm not wrong, So
yeah, I think the trendy term, at least in 2019, was called being Bayesian about your process, which is basically just as you gain more information, you alter, as you take in more data points, essentially, you alter how you think. As you gain more information, and just it's kind of that being flexible as you get new information. Well, my previous thought is wrong now that I have new information. But that was kind of a trendy word, I think, on the Twitters last year. But yeah, I think it's important to have stances. I think it's important to sometimes plant your flag, and we'll talk about some of the things that I think we're doing in the off season between the two of us. But I also, you gotta understand that even if you plant your flag, to realize I planted in the wrong place and I need to change it is valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to talk about some actual football on this show as well. You've got outlined, I've got a bunch of different computer screens here. I'm not sure which mouse is which. You've got outlined a couple sections, at least for this show. I think we're always going to have a Dynasty dive section. We'll see what the people like. If you guys have any requests, we're totally open to that. But
show for the people.
Yeah, exactly. We are the donkey and boof of the people, you can see. So next, we're going to talk about offenses that you're buying into this season. And I think when you put this segment together, you weren't necessarily thinking like Ravens and Chiefs necessarily, right?
No, I mean, it's more like, I guess cheaper, like value plays, so to speak. Everyone knows you want to buy Mahomes if you can even get him.
Yeah. Well, who are your teams?
Yeah, so, the idea was just kind of guys you can pick up via trade in your dynasty leagues, or honestly, even if you're listening to this and you're just a redraft player, I think going into your drafts, and we're 2 or 3 months away, but to start thinking about your draft plan now, it's never too early. There's no baseball going on. What else do you have to do? So I think my number 3 team would be the Arizona Cardinals that I would be looking to get. I've got my hat on here, Murray Hopkins 20, which I purchased as maybe a relic. If we don't have a season, this will still be a nice relic for the 20 season that never happened. But I really love Kyler Murray. I think he's getting enough love. I mean, he's a value, or he's at probably his redraft value right now. I think somewhere quarterback 4 or 5, but I think he's really good. I think people don't quite understand how good of a passer he is. His chart, I saw a great chart on Twitter, which was essentially your completion percentage over expected completion percentage, depending on your depth of target. And so it had every quarterback, and most guys, dipped under the average as they go down the field. Some really elite talents, Dak, Mahomes, Deshaun Watson actually were about average and then went up as they went downfield, showing, the longer their throws, they got actually better than the average quarterback. Shockingly to me, Kyler Murray was like, his graph looked almost exactly like Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. He's got the running ability. I just think he's like, the sky's the limit with him. I really believe that. Kingsbury in year 2. But then to the value plays, because those guys Kyler's expensive, I would say. DeAndre Hopkins, I feel like some people are a little down on him. I mean, I think you gave him a little bit of a discount. Cristian Kirk, still a value. I think ADP is like wide receiver 36 or something right now on MFL. I love him. And then Kenyon Drake, I mean, I think that guy's an easy top 10 running back in that offense in year 2 as they kind of refine their system. He's going as a late RB2, I think, right now. So that's my first team. I love the Cardinals. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins is expensive, but I think a lot of the other pieces around him, even Andy Isabella. I mean, take a flyer on Andy Isabella if you're in a deep league. I mean, pick him up literally for free. He could be the third receiver on a pretty high potency offense. So I like all those guys out in Arizona.
Yeah, so 2 of your teams here, and I'll let you get to the second one, but the Cardinals might be my number 1 pick, to be honest. I think we're both all aboard that Cliff Kingsbury train. Brieda and I talked about this. We just recorded the Razzball Fantasy Football podcast earlier, and we were going through my Dynasty running back rankings, which are out there on Razzball, shameless plug. But maybe we can figure out how to put links in the YouTube notes. Maybe that's
perfect.
Figure out how to do here. So
Synergy.
I had exactly, Boof. I had Kenyon Drake as my number 15 Dynasty running back. I didn't think that was all that high. He questioned it. I devalued a lot of my running backs in Dynasty based on upcoming free agency. And he questioned why I didn't devalue Kenyon Drake for that. I don't like the uncertainty of not knowing what the situation is going to be next year. I think Kenyon Drake's going to re-sign with the Cardinals. That's why I didn't devalue him. Brieda thinks that he's an injury risk. He also thinks Chase Edmonds is going to be a threat. I do like Chase Edmonds. And Benjamin could be something too, but I think that's an offense that can sustain 2 running backs, have 1 elite fantasy running back and then 1 potential like flex play there. So I'm with you. I think we both have Kyler Murray as our number 3 dynasty quarterback and actually number 3 redraft quarterback for me. I don't know about you.
I think I would. I'm just getting there. I can't say no anymore. Every single bit of information about the guy is just like awesome.
Yeah. I landed him in the 2nd round in one of my dynasty rookie drafts last year. I'm pretty stoked about having him, to be honest.
Yeah, as a little dynasty nugget, last year, because the other position players, running back and receiver, were just kind of lackluster, I found myself, I'm not normally a QB drafter in rookie drafts, especially in single QB leagues, but like it got to the end of the 1st round, early 2nd round, and like there was just nobody that was exciting. And so I was like, Kyler has the best upside, even if it's at quarterback, which is generally a replaceable position. So I actually landed a bunch of Kyler because the other players in the pool were just kind of boring.
Everybody
ended up getting some.
everybody ended up reaching for, Justice Hill and Darwin Thompson if you drafted late, and you're regretting that if you took those guys. I mean, some leagues, Kyler Murray was going early first round, but then others, every league's different on how they value quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
If your league's a little bit on the shallower bench side, then quarterbacks can be easier to come by, and maybe you don't even think about spending a first round round one. So, yeah, I know we're both fully aboard the Kyler Murray train. I want any piece of that offense I can get. I'm with you. I think DeAndre Hopkins, we may see a little bit of a fantasy step back here in year one in a new offense, but I don't think it's, he's still going to be right there in the, second round fantasy value. Maybe back end first. Maybe we'll see how that. I think his game adapts well into any offense. I'm with you on Cristian Kirk. So yeah, I'm fully into that offense. One that I had down was the Gardner Minshew.
I see that
offense here. The Swagwire shirt, brought to you by RotoWire. Actually, we should see if we can get RotoWire to sponsor our show.
Yeah, we need sponsors.
So yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot of people buying into the Jaguars offense. Leonard Fournette, he may come at a little bit of a discount, but somebody that you can get really late is Chris Thompson. And in PPR leagues, I mean, you know what Chris Thompson can do. Shark was awesome with Minshew. I love Minshew. I just love the guy. I think he's a winner, and he's going to continue to outperform expectations. So I think some people are fading him this year. Him and Shark had a really strong connection. So I'm buying pretty much any part I can get of the Jaguars offense. And, I put out my Dynasty tight end rankings update this week, and somebody brought up in the comments Tyler Eifert. We know that we can't count on him to stay healthy, but you get.
There's a sneaky ad. I think there was a sneaky ad for them. I love Chenault as a rookie coming in. His ability to be used all over the field, and the same chart that I just mentioned about Kyler Murray. The most shocking chart was Minshew. He looked similar, where his completion percentage as he threw down the field actually was better than league average. So there could be something there. I mean, maybe he's the next sixth-round quarterback that becomes a thing.
Right, he's Tom Brady pretty much. And you mark it down.
No problem.
Yeah, I'm with you on Chenault. I mean, again, you can't count on him to be healthy, but if he is, he could be really, really exciting. I mean, he was a first-round talent that got devalued based on all of his injury concerns, and for good reason, but I think I said it before in one of my Dynasty write-ups that I think he could have a Deebo Samuel type impact. He can be used out of the backfield like Deebo, and he might be even more explosive if he's healthy. So yeah, I'm with you there. Who's your next offense?
My number 2 is Miami Dolphins. Now, hear me out. I know they were god-awful pathetic last year, but they still returned some value. I mean, we all know Devontae Parker came out of bust land to be good for fantasy. I have a little nugget here. Preston Williams was actually on pace for 64, 856, and 6 touchdowns. He played 8 games. He tore his ACL. But if he's healthy for 16 games, you're talking about a guy who was an undrafted free agent, but everyone knew the talent was there. And that line is actually A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, and Terry McLaurin level production. So he basically was a starter from day one, even though he was an undrafted free agent. So you have Preston Williams is going as like wide receiver 56 or something like that right now. I mean, he's basically free. I love him. Fitzpatrick did good enough, and if Tua gets in there, I mean, I personally love Tua, but regardless of what you think about Tua as a player, he's a good quarterback, and he's an upgrade probably over Ryan Fitzpatrick. So you've got a potential quarterback upgrade, 2 receivers who are values, and then the backfield I think has some sneaky value too. I mean, Jordan Howard I think there's a decent chance he runs for 1,000 yards, maybe 6 to 8 touchdowns as the primary ball carrier. And he was still good last year in Philly till he got hurt. I mean, much to Miles Sanders' owner's dismay, he was like productive. I mean, he wasn't bad. And then Matt Breida is going to be a decent, 40% kind of guy of the backfield touches with a bunch of receptions. I just think there's value all over this team because everyone thinks they're so bad. They were tanking last year and all that. But they've revamped the team. I think they're going to come in with something to prove and be very useful. And then, of course, Mike Gazecki, a tight end who lines up in the slot a lot. I think it was like 36% in the slot last year. Very athletic. And now I don't care if my tight ends don't block in fantasy. He can be a glorified receiver. That's fine with me. So I love that they use him in the slot. I think he's another value.
No, yeah, I prefer if my tight ends don't block.
Yeah, exactly.
They were not on my list, but I don't disagree with you. I mean, sometimes, especially I find in fantasy baseball, that the worst teams, you find some of the best values because nobody wants to buy into them. And I'm totally on board with Preston Williams, trying to get the nickname Saucy Boy coined. Preston Williams.
Why?
I don't know. Somebody on Reddit had thrown that out there, and it's hilarious to me. Saucy Boy.
Yeah, I love Saucy Boy. That sounds great.
He was undrafted because I wrote a Preston Williams article. Maybe I'll put that in the comments here on the YouTube.
Go notes.
I wrote a Dynasty due diligence on Preston Williams. He went undrafted because of character concerns. He had some domestic violence issues. I think it was his junior year at, was it Colorado State he went to?
Yeah,
like
it would
that.
be Colorado State.
Yeah, and he got suspended, and he really went straight edge, straight arrow. I don't know, whatever that saying is. But
straight and narrow.
Straight and narrow. Exactly, Boof. Thank you. And he worked his way back onto the team. They didn't just let him back on, and he had a monster senior year, whichever it was, before he came into the NFL draft. NFL teams were not so forgiving, but the Dolphins gave him a chance, and we saw everything that he's capable of. Devontae Parker was not going to have the year that he had if Preston Williams was still there. Preston Williams was outpacing him.
Yeah,
that's part of the reason I'm not so excited to draft Devontae Parker this year. I think Fitzpatrick, if you're in a super flex league, Fitzpatrick is a great free buy. I'm not expecting Tua to really get into the fold this year, but if they outperform and then Fitzpatrick has a couple bad games, maybe. I mean, the thing is,
Fitzpatrick can carry. He's a YOLO kind of guy. I mean, he may not be great in real life. He may throw 4 picks and four touchdowns, but for fantasy, he's actually good. I mean, you want to just chuck it up.
Yeah, and he went to Harvard. He's an intelligent guy, so he knows how to work with what he's got too.
Drink. He went to Harvard. Drink.
Jordan Howard, as a Bears fan, he's the guy that just kind of always outperforms expectations. He had stone hands when he was here, and they actually used him out of the backfield in didn't get my drink in Philadelphia, and his hands looked all right. I mean, people want to throw it to him even though his hands are terrible. So I think Brieda is maybe the guy. We'll see where their values kind of settle in because it's still all kind of new after the NFL draft and Brieda coming over during the draft on a trade. So we'll see where they settle in, but I think I'm buying whichever one's cheaper. I think that they're both going to have value.
Yeah, it's really either one is fine with me.
Who was my next offense? Who do I got in the show notes, Boof?
Bills.
The Bills, right? I brought them up on the show with Beat on today because he was questioning my high ranking of Zach Moss. I think I had.
He questions you a lot.
Yeah, well, we're breaking down my rankings, so I think that was like the show format. So I can handle it. I get questioned quite a bit in home life and fantasy football life, so it comes with the territory of being a teeth.
Gotcha.
I had Singletary as my 30th dynasty running back. I think I had Zach Moss as like 34 or 35. I had him in the same tier. he questioned those rankings. I said I always want a piece of the Bills' offense. I've never been a huge Devin Singletary fan. I expected them to bring another running back in. I don't think that he, by any means, a workhorse bell cow type. He's fine committee back, and I think Zach Moss could be the more valuable guy this year. I think he's going to get the goal line touches. He's a bruiser. Only concern, and B-Don brought this up, was Josh Allen potentially taking some of those goal line touchdowns. So, yeah, I like the Bills' offense, though. I'm a big Josh Allen fan. He's got the mobility. Now we got Stefon Diggs coming in. I think he's being devalued a little bit. Smokey Brown seems to have the whole sickle cell stuff behind him since he left Arizona and got out of that climate. Yeah, knock on wood. And Dawson Knox looked pretty good last year. So,
he did.
Rookie season. So I think that there's some value in the Bills offense. They're actually my sleeper Super Bowl matchup prediction is the Cardinals and Bills. So, I like to get on.
I mean, I don't even know what a futures ticket of that would be, but it would be a nice payout for sure.
I'm going to have to find it.
Yeah. I mean, Bills to win the East is certainly not crazy at all. And from there, you win your division. You can make the Super Bowl.
Who's your next team, Boof?
Next team. Okay, my number one team I'm looking to acquire in the offseason is players from the Carolina Panthers. I feel like this team has just basically been left for dead, other than everyone knows Christian McCaffrey is the 101 in most formats. But, McCaffrey's not coming cheap ever. But DJ Moore is also pretty valuable. But, there's a lot of other guys on this team that I'm still interested in. I mean, give me Teddy Bridgewater, even in a single QB, totally free. Your classic late-round quarterback in single QB leagues. He's not super exciting, and he basically just managed the farm while Breeze was injured with I think he had a very low yards per attempt, which I don't love. But he's super efficient. And if he does that in Carolina, he's got a ton of yak guys. I think they were 8th in the NFL in total yards after catch. Christian McCaffrey's the best yak player in the whole league. DJ Moore is pretty darn good too. Curtis Samuel, Robbie Anderson. He's got a lot of weapons. And I think if he just gets the ball efficiently to his players, they will be able to perform. They're going to have a terrible defense. I mean, they just drafted 10 defenders. So their entire draft was defense. And I think they lost a lot of guys, veterans on defense. They're probably going to be terrible. They're going to have to face 2 games against the Saints, 2 games against the Bucks with Tom Brady and an improved offense, and 2 games against the Falcons, who we know can put up points. I just think they're going to be playing catch-up all the time. It could be just a pinball. Carolina could just be circle every game against Carolina and DraftKings and stuff and just stack those games. So then for my season-long teams, I also want to stack. Curtis Samuel's free. Robbie Anderson's free. Ian Thomas, who inherits a starting role as their tight end, is basically free. So those guys, if you can do a trade, throw in Curtis Samuel, throw in Robbie Anderson, do it. And, those are the kind of guys I'm trying to scoop up.
Actually, you were the first person that brought up the Panthers to me this offseason and Matt Rule, and I dug in a little bit more on him because I'm not a huge college football fan, but it is very intriguing. We'll see some of these college coaches look at Chip Kelly, don't exactly translate, but there's a lot of talent on this team, and I'm excited to see how it pans out. I think DJ Moore's pretty expensive. I think the main guy that I'm looking at is Curtis Samuel. I think I'm more interested in him than Robbie Anderson. But, you say that they're free. They're not exactly free, right? They're going at pick 100 to 130 or something like that. And same with Preston Williams. You mentioned him being free. I guess it depends on what kind of league depth you're looking at.
Yeah, that's fair. Not undrafted free agent free.
Yeah. So I'm with you on this offense. Let's move on, though. Let's get into the next segment because we're probably reaching our quota here on time. You want to talk about our Dynasty dive and how we're approaching rookie drafts this year?
Yeah. I think tis the season for rookie drafts right now. So if you are in a dynasty league of any kind, you're going to be looking at how to approach the draft. For me, I just think this draft is so deep. It is top heavy. There's 5 excellent running backs. You probably can't go wrong. If you have a top 5 pick, I would probably just go ahead and draft a running back. And then after pick 5, it gets interesting. I love CeeDee Lamb at 6. I'm talking non-superflex here. But like the receivers are just so deep. So basically what I'm saying is my strategy has pretty much been to trade back if I can and acquire picks. Because I'd rather have 2 of the second tier of receivers than 1. And if I'm drafting at like 9th and I could get Jalen Reagor, I guess Reagor it is, I think I'd rather trade back and get like Justin Jefferson and a later second round pick where I can land like Michael Pittman Jr. and have both of those guys instead of just Jalen Reagor, even though I love Reagor. Because there's so many guys, I'd rather have more chances at landing a stud than put all my eggs in one basket. And I think this is a great year to do something like that. Just as an example, in one league, something I actually did do was I traded back. I had the 107. I was going to take CeeDee Lamb, but someone really wanted CeeDee Lamb. And he told me in the trade offer, he told me, I want Lamb. I want to get up to 7. So he offered me 110. So I dropped back 3 spots, but I picked up a 3rd round pick, 3-4, I think it was, and then a 2021 2nd round pick. So it was like a really great offer. And to me, like CeeDee Lamb's great, but I could drop back 3 slots, still get a great receiver, and add picks. So that's exactly what I did, and I'm looking to do that sort of thing in any draft I can. And in that scenario, I still got Jalen Reagor at 10, and I got Anthony McFarland at 3-4. So I think a nice, interesting little running back there. And then I have a 2nd round pick next year, just on top of that for, and I still got a receiver I love. And I think a lot of people can do that. You can do that a lot this year. So that's my strategy.
Yeah, and really, I don't think that there's a wrong answer to this question this year. There's just so much talent, top end and depth-wise, that you can really approach it any way you want. My standard approach in dynasty leagues is go for it, and trade my draft picks away. And then if I realize it's not in the cards for this year, then kind of pump the brakes and dish off the pieces that I can and try to get draft picks, immediately. So I did that in one league this past year, and I ended up with pick 8 because the guy I traded Aaron Jones to, he thought that he was going to end up, with the top 2 pick or something like that. He ended up taking 4th, and I got pick 8, and he gave me an early 2nd rounder, and I got a 1st rounder next year too from him. So I've got pick 8. And the way that we run our dynasty rookie drafts, we'll wait until after week 3 of the preseason. We'll see how it goes this year.
Oh, wow.
To give those bottom feeders a little bit more information before they make their picks, level the playing field a little bit more. So we'll see. A lot changes as the season draws closer and you get more information in the preseason. I think that if you've got a draft right now, I think your approach is the way to go. I think if your draft is later in the preseason, like mine are, that I want to wait and see. I want to see who's there when I'm on the clock. At pick 8, somebody might fall there. People always make picks that I don't understand. Somebody's somebody's gonna pick, LaVisca Chenault at pick 7 or something like that in my league. And I'm just, I don't think, I know neither of us like Henry Ruggs. He'll probably go in the top 7. Something like that's going to happen. And CeeDee Lamb's going to fall into my lap at 8 or something. Jerry Jeudy, DeAndre Swift is going to get undervalued because he's on the Lions. Maybe that's totally fair,
Yeah. And especially if Ruggs has like a 90-yard touchdown in like the 2nd preseason game or something like that. I mean, he's just going to go haywire.
Yeah, and we could be wrong on Ruggs. He's got a lot of talent, and there's going to be opportunity in Oakland. So it's like that malpractice that we talked about off the top. We don't like him, and we're not going to be drafting him, but it's totally possible we're wrong,
Yep. Unfortunately, it is possible.
So, yeah, I think that there's a lot of different ways to approach this. If you can trade up into, the top – I really want a top 3 pick. I want one of Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'm not totally sold on Swift in Detroit. Not that I wouldn't take him and take the shot. I'm not totally sold on Akers in L.A. I still like Darrell Henderson. I'd take Akers over him, obviously, but I'm just not totally sold on those situations. Versus the top 3, I think that they have superstar potential, elite RB1 very quickly. And then I like Judy and Lamb a lot, but they're wide receivers. They're going to probably take a little bit more patience, especially Lamb. So that's the way I'm looking at it. If I can get into the top 3, I'll trade up. I'm cool with trading back if I feel like the value is there. But, typically I just want to wait and see what's there, because I'm going to feel really silly of trading out of pick 7 or 8 and then having somebody be there that I didn't expect to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, if you're in that situation, most of the trades that I've done were trades like during the draft. So I think if you've got that long to go, probably your approach makes more sense.
Yeah. All right, Boof. Well, I'm sure we're over our half-hour time limit here.
Probably.
Zoom hasn't cut us off on our free 40 minutes yet. So you want to give your quick media suggestion for the show?
Yeah. So I just thought it'd be fun to give a non-football idea during quarantine, especially. I think we're all delving into our different media, Netflix, what have you. I think for me and my wife, we have really enjoyed New Girl, which is an old Fox sitcom. Straight up sitcom. I never gave it a second thought, never watched it when it was live, but it's Zooey Deschanel and three guys living in an apartment in LA, I think, and it's just hysterical. It legitimately, I'm a bit of a TV nerd, or nerd, but also snob, I guess is what I'm thinking of. And I just would never give like a network comedy a second thought. But it's hysterical. It's really been great. We laugh out loud at every single episode. And so I would recommend that, especially in these dark times. I think we need some laughter, and that really has fit the bill for us.
Nice. I'll have to check it out. I'm pretty sure I never watched it, but sometimes you don't realize until you start watching it that you did. My show, the lady and I, we just binge watched in about a month all 6 seasons of The Americans. It was awesome.
That's got to be a couple. How many did you go in a night? 3, 4?
Yeah, some weekend evenings it was like more than that. So,
you get to the point where it's like, are you still watching The Americans?
Yeah, exactly. We lose track of what episode we were on, what season we were on. So, but yeah, that's an awesome show. If you haven't seen it, Gray recommended that to me, and I haven't heard anybody that didn't like the show. So
yeah,
it's a really well done FX show. It's over now. There were 6 seasons. They're Russian spies living in America, and that's all I'll say. It's great.
Yeah, co-sign on that. It is an excellent show.
All right, Boof, that's a wrap for our first episode of the Razzball Fantasy Football Malpractice Show with Dr. Donkey and the Boof. All right, later, guys.
Bye.